Did you miss me? I'm back! Don't worry, it's not forever. I'm just filling in for Denang Balsera. This week, I'm, of course, Sean Woodley, back. Thrilled to be here for CEBL Weekly, presented by BetVictor. Let's dive in and kick things off with the lead. So there was a ton that happened this week, and I'm going to try to wrap it all up for you in a nice little bite-sized recap right here. We'll begin with the Ottawa Blackjacks, who picked up 3 wins this past week, all in very convincing fashion. Their smallest margin of victory this week, 11, in a win over the Rattlers on Thursday, and it's been a combined effort for this team all season long, and when they're humming, they look close to unbeatable. What's fantastic about this squad is that they're doing it with a primarily Canadian starting lineup to boot. Now listen, I know Zina Edasamwan is technically hurt, so it's not 5 guys in the starting lineup right now, but Kadre Gray, Tommy Scrubb, Jackson Rowe, and Tyrell Tate, flanked by MVP candidate Dan Goodell, has made this team one of the deepest in the league, and maybe one of the deepest we've ever seen in the CEBL, and they might not even have their full complement of players just yet. The rest of the Eastern Conference is still about as clear as mud. The River Lions are always a threat to blow a team out on any given night, of course, similar to the way they did against the Rattlers on Sunday night, a team they've had their way with this year. That team, of course, rides the back of reigning MVP Khalil Ahmad, and this is also a team, however, that's balanced. 4 River Lions are averaging double-digit points, including one of the breakout players of the year in Eddie Ekiyor, whose inspired two-way play has bolstered the depth of this River Lions squad. The Brampton Honey Badgers hit a bit of a snag this week in their only game, losing big to the Blackjacks, but don't count them out either, despite falling to the bottom of the East standings. They go as defending 6th Man of the Year Kobe McEwen and their stud American duo of Christian Vital and Jeremiah Tillman Jr. go. When those 3 are rolling, they do very much look like a top team in the East. There's only one way to put it for the Montreal Alliance this season. It's all come down to the injury bug. Ahmed Hill has missed time, along with Blake Francis, Mamadou Gay, and Kemi Osei, just to name a few. Derek Alston Sr. has done a fantastic job with this squad and has them in a playoff spot at the time of recording, despite all the lost man games, capping this past week with a thrilling home win over the league's top-ranked Winnipeg Sea Bears on Monday night. Hill wanted to be the main dude on a team and has excelled in that role for the Alliance. You couple his wonderful play with the improvement of younger players like Nathan Kao, Elaine Louie, and the addition of Negus Webster-Chan, and this team very much could be pesky come playoff time. And last but not least, out east, it's the Scarborough Shooting Stars, and this week did not get off to an awesome start for Chris Exela's squad, as they were held without a 3-pointer and had just 1 assist in the first half of their 14-point loss against the Rattlers. After that, though, all they did was head into the province of Alberta and sweep back-to-back against the Surge and the Stingers, all this without the services of Jalen Harris. Now, don't get me wrong, Jalen Harris is an awesome player when he's making his shots, and the Shooting Stars can go anywhere with him, but without him, they also seem to play a bit more of a complete team game. Kat Barber runs the point, and everything else seems to fall into place. Key contributions from their youth sports players in David Munkat and David Walker have helped the Shooting Stars bridge the gap till Cam Chapman gets healthy and the aforementioned Harris returns. On to the West, and now I don't really know how I stand in the West right now. A lot of it feels like it's in flux, but it also feels like each team could be the best of the division on any given day, while plenty of questions are involved for each team as well. The Sea Bears had themselves an up and down week. First, they came back from down 17 points onto their home floor in a game against the River Lions, then headed out to the nation's capital for the first time in a very hyped battle of first place teams, but did not come out of the gate very strong, trailing double digits for most of the game, including facing a 21-point deficit going into the 4th quarter. This was followed again by another road loss to Montreal on Monday night. Which version of the Sea Bears will we see as we head into crunch time of the season? Much remains to be seen for Winnipeg. The Calgary Surge just had 1 game this week and ended up taking the loss as Scarborough cruised through Alberta. Now, this team is terrific defensively. There's no disputing that whatsoever. Simi Shitu is a force on the inside, who we're going to talk about later on the show, and they have 3 of the top 10 players in blocks per game, as well as 2 of the top 10 in steals. This team works well on defense, no doubt, but I'm not totally sure who's able to take over and run the offense when key buckets are needed down the stretch. The Edmonton Stingers had themselves a tough week, also like Calgary losing to Scarborough, along with dropping the first game of their home-and-home with the Bandits. There's times where this team looks totally unbeatable, frankly, with 3 20-plus point victories on their resume this season, 2 of which coming on the road in Brampton and Winnipeg. All 7 of their losses, on the other hand, have come by 10 or less, hinting at a team that should be a little better than its record suggests. Will new addition Shane Gibson be the guy to get those extra points the Stingers need to turn these narrow losses into wins? We shall see. The Vancouver Bandits celebrated Canada Day at home in their victory over the Stingers this past Sunday in their only game of the week. Jehens Manigat finally found his scoring touch, and they appear to have their rotation in order out in Vancouver, with U Sports Player of the Year candidate Diego Mafia running the point, allowing Manigat to roam off ball and find those shooting spots. Can Kyle Julius keep his team motivated and composed all the way through to championship weekend in Vancouver? We'll see. Finally, the Saskatchewan Rattlers, and there's no doubt that they are always going to have an opportunity to win games when Justin Wright Foreman is pouring in buckets like we know he can, just as he showed in a win over Montreal early in the week, where he dropped 33 points, good for 38% of all Rattlers points in that game. JWF can carry the team. Who's going to contribute more than 10 points even elsewhere on the roster? That remains to be seen. I tell you, watching these games all summer, the level has been off the charts. And now that we're over halfway through the season, one thing I can confirm is there are some certified hoopers tearing it up every single night in the CEBL and putting up some pretty awesome highlights to boot. Let's check out the top plays from the first half of the CEBL season.
Watson Gale with 10 to shoot. He drives. He's getting harassed. Shot for the win. Good! Wow. Watson Gale, the hero again, and Winnipeg is 8-3 in their maiden voyage.
Raised their level, brought the defense into it, and a great shot there. Watson Gale, ice in his veins, knocked that down.
Ahmad just dropped off the slightest bit on that play, and it was all the space Watson Gale needed from the free throw line.
Don't, like right now, we shouldn't. Let's not let him let's let them walk him down the floor.
Rattlers work it into the right corner, and it's good. The three-pointer from Quentin DeCozy.
The mismatch with stolen again. Oh, through the behind the back, and oh my goodness, what a play by Justin.
Euro step reverse layup over 2 guys and only about 6 feet, and he's imitated what he was doing just behind the whoop.
Miller Moore. Big start to the ball game, looking for more, and there it is.
I tell you what, getting to the basket, gets the first step on the defender. I thought he was going over the layup, turns it around, crams that thing. How about Rugsy?
Rugsy into double figures. Calgary advantage is 6, and they surge to the lead, and this is trademark Rugsy Miller Moore.
Yeah, takes it up with the layup right at the last minute, turns it around.
Quite a bit here at this point to get back in this ballgame for Ottawa if he gets to do so with 9 points down.
Hits Hill, and he just posterized Pepe. Welcome to Sports Center. That's your highlight of the night.
Niemi looks at the shot clock, going upstairs and a two-handed slam dunk.
There's the connection here. Niemi does a great job with the one-on-one breakdown, but then again, eyes up, you saw that, the connection leaving it right up top for Bernard.
Lamps, he's building up his confidence.
You know, these two teams are really in a nice flow. Blair, got it, count it, foul! Are you flat out kidding me? Blair is red hot with his 6-3 ball on the night and a possible 4-point play.
They need 1 point. Alain Louis to the hoop, kicks it out. Ahmed Hill hits it. Ahmed Hill, corner 3, 32 points. And the Montreal Alliance survive.
Gray works on Odro. 10 on the shot clock. Gray still working the rock. We're down to 6. Top side for the win. Bam! Onions, baby onions! Get out the salami and cheese, mama! Ottawa has won the CEBL opener. Oh, baby, what a play! Wow.
Next field goal wins from anywhere. Could the Ottawa Blackjacks do it again? Break the hearts. Oh, what a steal! Thomas Kennedy for the win! Yes! Oh, he didn't do that! Oh my God! What a win for the Scarborough Shooting Stars! Dad's in the house.
Here it is. Dang's trying to shake him, set up the offense, the pressure. I mean.
When the opportunity to host this show again came up, I was very excited, but I had some demands. And demand number 1 was that I get to spotlight a breakout Canadian from the CEBL this season. Since Game 1, Kadre Gray of the Ottawa Blackjacks has put the league on notice that he's more than just a historically great youth sports player. He's just a fantastic basketball player, period. Let's break down what makes him the straw that stirs the Blackjacks' drink. Kadre Gray is the definition of a lead guard. Everything he does is additive to the Blackjacks' bigger picture, and he's the reason why a team with so many potent offensive threats is able to maintain balance. Let's begin with the playmaking. He leads the CEBL in assists per game this year thanks to that next level vision. Whether creating from a standstill in the half court, pinging to shooters in transition, or simply making connective passes that keep possessions flowing, Gray's command of opposing defenses and how to manipulate them is the progenitor of Ottawa's best flourishes of offense. Of course, Gray first made his name as one of the most prolific bucket getters that we've literally ever seen in Canadian university basketball. And his nearly 17 points a game suggests he's comfortable hunting down his own shot on offense still now that he's in the pros. The efficiency for Gray is what's really stood out so far. He's shooting just a smidge under 50% from the field while pouring in 42% of his three-point looks on more than 4 attempts a game. His drives to the basket are forceful, direct, and are very rarely deterred by contact. In transition, he makes his closing moves with purpose, and we've seen the legitimacy of his pull-up game on display in some of the highest stakes moments for Ottawa so far this season. Crucially though, Gray doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to positively impact his team. Especially important on a team with offensive stars across the board. Look, Dang is good enough to warrant his own fair share of touches any given night, as are Tommy Scrubb, Jackson Rowe, and the sharpshooting Tyrell Tate. No problem for Gray, as his dead-eye three-point shooting makes him an awesome spacing agent working off of Ottawa's other stars, and you'll find few players more devastating attacking a rotating defense on a closeout. All of this, and we've yet to even account for Gray's rebounding chops, which far overshoot his 6'1" frame, and the 1.3 steals he pokes loose a game as one of Ottawa's top point-of-attack defenders. Dang might be quote-unquote the best overall player on the red-hot Blackjacks, but any way you slice it, Gray is Ottawa's most valuable. A breakout like this always felt possible for Gray after his historically dominant run at Laurentian University, and in his 3rd CEBL season, it's all coming together, and it just might culminate in some hardware at the end of the season. We're into the second half of the season now, which means it's time to turn our eye towards awards season. Over the next few weeks, we'll be looking at all the award races around the CEBL this season. First off, though, we take a look at the award that may be the most versatile in terms of the types of players that are in consideration. The running for Defensive Player of the Year is hot this season, and there's 3 guys atop my personal leaderboard who all make their defensive impacts in very different ways. Starting it off, we have Maxim Borsico, the 6'5" wing defender who does it all for Ottawa on the defensive end. And usually when I'm putting together these lists, I do little straw polls around the league, talk to people who are in the know, who watch these players up close and personal far more than I can. And to a man, it seems Maxim Borsico was on everybody's list of the best defensive players in the CEBL. It might be surprising considering he doesn't carry the same star stature of a lot of his Ottawa teammates, but his defense allows those guys to shine. First and foremost, Borsico is rugged when it comes to his on and off ball defense. There's very few dudes who are as mean to play against as Borsico is. He can smother the opposition's best player, and at 6'5", with a bit of a girth to him. He has the size and mass to defend in the post whenever he needs to as well, and the foot speed to stick with those slithery guards. Ottawa's team is of course studded by stars who put the ball in the hole, but Max Borsico is the guy who keeps it out the most effectively for Ottawa. He's number 3 on the DPOY player ranking. At number 2, it's Christian Vital of the Brampton Honey Badgers. And look, it's just steals with this dude. Steals, 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 and more steals. Getting possession is a pretty important part of playing defense, and Christian Vital is better at it than anybody else when it comes to forcing turnovers by the other team. He's also not afraid to muck it up. He's just 6'2", but he's grimy and mean at the point of attack, and he can get up too. He had a big block, of course, recently against EJ Anasike in target time to really show off his hops. Christian Vital, he's not the tallest dude who's ever won a Defensive Player of the Year award. In fact, he might be the shortest, but if he does, it'll absolutely be deserved for the Brampton Honey Badgers star guard. At number 1, we have Simi Shitu, the Canadian who is the back line of defense for the best defense in the CEBL out in Calgary, playing for the Surge. And look, he's helped. It's not just Simi's show on defense in Calgary. He's bolstered by an excellent defensive shell created by the likes of Admon Gilder Jr., Ruggsy Miller-Moore, and Steph Smith on the perimeter. But anytime something leaks through, you can bet Simi Shitu will be there to meet a ball handler with a block or at least a very good contest. And when the ball ricochets off the rim from the other team, usually caused by Shitu's disruption, he's one of the very best players in the entire CEBL at collecting those defensive boards, which could be an extremely valuable matchup piece if ever the Surge and the Winnipeg Sea Bears play one another. Of course, the top 2 teams out west have been all year, and Winnipeg pounds the offensive glass more than any other team. Shitu will be there to neutralize that threat if those 2 teams meet one another in the playoffs. He's got quick hands in close and can poke balls free. And frankly, his best competition for this award might come from inside the house, as Kyler Kelly, who hasn't played quite as many games or has been as involved as Shitu so far, is leading the league in blocks per game in his short time with the Surge. Will we have a Surge 1-2 finish when it's all said and done for Defensive Player of the Year? You can bet Simi Shitu will very much be involved in this conversation all the way down to the wire. It's time now to get you set for what's on tap in the CEBL over the coming week, and it's a bit of a lighter week on the schedule across the CEBL, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some juicy matchups on tap that we've got starred on our calendars. First up on Friday, it's the Brampton Honey Badgers and the Niagara River Lions, the old battle of the QEW, the second game of a home and home with Game 1 on Wednesday and Game 2 Friday. 2 teams that are constructed very similarly here as well, doing battle. You've got star import guards, rim protecting import bigs. They love to run and both are very intense on defense. Always a little more juice when these 2 squads meet, of course. Coming up on Sunday, we have the Ottawa Blackjacks, tops in the East, visiting the hosts of Championship Weekend, the Vancouver Bandits. And this one features 2 of the premier imports in this league, in Dengadel on the side of the Blackjacks and Georgi Bajanishvili on the side of the Bandits. Very different positions. They're not exactly going to overlap when it comes to matchups, but the way those 2 guys score will certainly have an impact on how this game comes down. And you've got contrasting styles here as well. Ottawa is the best 3-point shooting team in the entire CEBL. Vancouver's the league's best rebounding team, and they get to the line more than most. It'll be an efficiency battle between the free throws and the threes between these 2 squads. This one should be fantastic as Ottawa is playing excellent basketball right now. Then next Tuesday, July 11th on TSN, it's the Banjo Bowl, baby, as it's the Sea Bears taking on the Rattlers in their 3rd matchup so far this season. You've got Justin Wright-Foreman and Teddy Allen, 2 of the league's top scorers, going toe-to-toe. And you've got, of course, the Rattlers trying to get that all-important victory against their Western Conference foes. You don't want to go a whole first season of Banjo Bowling without a win, do ya? A little bit more juice when these 2 teams play, of course. We love those rivalry matchups. And will this be a bit of a trap game for Winnipeg? They lost a couple games over the weekend on the road. It's a massive time for them now returning back home with some time off. This will be a huge test for Winnipeg to see if they can get back to their winning ways, or perhaps it's a bit of a trap as Justin Wright-Foreman can take over a game at a moment's notice regardless of who the opponent is. That'll do it for another edition of CEBL Weekly presented by BetVictor. Follow at CEB League on your favorite social channels for all the fun content, news, game updates, and more from around the league. For tickets to go watch your favorite team play, you can buy them right now. Just head to CEBL.ca to pick them up. Tickets to Championship Weekend are also available. Get your tournament packs by visiting CEBL.ca/Championship Weekend today. And you can watch all the live games on CEBL Plus, powered by BetVictor, and on TSN Plus. Thanks so much for watching. Super glad to be back for whatever fleeting time this ends up being. Please tweet at me and talk about me on Reddit. I'm sure I'll love it. I'll ensure that I keep those comments open. Bring it on.